Yo, what's up? Welcome back to the Haunted Basement Studio. I'm your host, Triple B, and in this hardcore comic book review, I'm going to be doing Vampirella Dark Reflections, issue number 2. In the dark and twisted realm of Earth 9285, where chaos resigns and all hope but is a distant memory, Vampirella faces her greatest challenge yet, sent to confront an unknown intruder. She is haunted by the remnants of a world she once fought to save, and as she stands over an unconscious Lilith, the sense of familiar tugs at her, setting the stage for a reflection that could change everything. Vampirella Dark Reflections, Chapter 2. She is Lilith, daughter of Vampirella, and she is an agent of the Reality Core. At the end of Chapter 1, where it was left off, Vampirella was holding Lilith up in the air by her throat. And in this issue, we're going to continue the story, but first, we got to jump back in time to when Vampirella first gets the news that there is an intruder on Earth 9285. As she looks around the world of 9285, she is saddened on how quickly it has all fallen apart. For most of her life, she has fought against the forces of darkness, twisted religions, and immortal sorceries, and the hunger for a human heart. Time and time again, she has fought, and every time she has won. But one of her biggest battles, the darkness won. As Vampirella gets news that there is a disturbance at the hatchery, she is the queen constable, and she is required to go deal with the problem. When the darkness won, she had wished that she had died along with her loved ones and half of the world's population. But she was kept alive to be set as an example that if you defy the Tenebris, all your loved ones will be killed. So Vampirella now must obey the Queen's every command, and now she lives in an enslaved planet and must do the Queen's bidding. And as Vampirella makes her way down to the hatchery, she sees Lilith and she smacks her across her face and she goes flying. And Lilith asks, "What are you?" She says, "I am Vampirella, loyal subject to the Queen Tenebris. Long live the Queen." And now it is second nature to Vampirella to rip out any throat of any intruder that she comes across without second thought. But there is something about this one. Something familiar as she stands over Lilith as she is knocked down on the ground. Instead of killing her, she thinks, why does it feel like I know her? And she decides to take her to the pit. We might be able to get some entertainment out of her. Now, as Vampirella walks through the streets, there are 3 people about ready to get hanged. And she thought she forgot about the stranger Lilith, but the memory remains in the back of her mind. And now, as Vampirella walks back to her home, we find out that she has an underground rebel crew and they are trying to take down the Tenebris. And they have a plan tonight to blow up the fuel tanks. And she says that she will keep her ears open and let them know if the Tenebris finds out. And now as she sits at her home, Vampirella remembers of how she lost the war she was fighting against the Cult of Chaos. But the Cult of Chaos plans distracted her as they captured her family. Their plans was to use the blood of the innocents to bring forth a new life, the perfect marriage of humanity with monstrous. As Vampirella wakes up from a nightmare, she hears voices saying, "I remember the time when you were responsible for causing such night terrors." And Vampirella says, "That was a very long time ago. Seems like an eternity, but I cannot stop thinking about that young woman that I apprehended today at the hatchery. She reminds me of my daughter." Lilith now is in the pit of humans, and she's like, "Oh geez, out of the frying pan into the fire." And now a voice comes from on top of the stadium of the pit and says, "You gave my Tenebrae quite a struggle, and now I want to see you in action for myself." And as he lets a monster into the pit, the monster walks up to Lilith and smacks her in her face, and she goes flying. But as she gets up off the dirt, she says that was pathetic. And as the monster tries to hit her again, she just grabs his fist and squeezes and rips off his hand, and blood goes everywhere. Lilith now yells out, now that we got that out of the way, why don't we start with some explanations and what happened to this madhouse planet? And who the hell are you? Who am I? You are in the presence of the Tenebrese queen of the Tenebrae, and we have taken over this planet. And how do you not know the knowledge of that? Perhaps I need to look inside that skull of yours. Lilith says, now if you know what's good for you, you will stay out of my head. The queen looks at her and says, how is this possible? There isn't a life form on this planet that can keep their thoughts from me except, and she thinks about Vampirella. She says, render her unconscious and bring her back to my lair. She requires further scrutiny. The queen was talking through a human subject, and now she releases him. The queen is thinking, who is this mysterious stranger whose innermost thoughts are hidden from me, and how can this even be possible? With the Queen Tenebrese, her every intention is to finding out why. Later that night, the underground rebel crew is about ready to blow up the fuel tanks, but Vampirella shows up and says, you guys need to get out of here. You need to leave now because the Tenebrae patrol is almost upon you. And she says, you better get out of here and I will take care of them. As the Tenebrese patrol shows up, Vampirella says, I was wondering when you guys were gonna get here. I heard rumors on the streets that the rebel crew was gonna blow up the old fuel tanks and that would incinerate half of the city. And I am the queen's constable, so I decided to check it out for myself. It's a good thing that I did. Long live the queen! The Tenebrese was the first of them, the physical manifestation of chaos god's power on earth. She was to lead an army of her kind, the Tenebrae monstrous, to serve the bidding of the god of chaos. But the queen had ideas of her own. She was more powerful than even the chaos god could even imagine, created her soldiers from worshipping all of the ancient gods whose soul's alliance was with her and her alone. The world has never seen one like her before. All of the magic users in the world had no hope for humanity, and within weeks there was no one that could stand against the Tenebrese and her army, not even the god of chaos. No one. And now they are bringing Lilith to the Queen Tenebrese, and she says, what a curious thing you are. My warriors tell me that you fell from the sky, that you came from a craft, the likes of which we have never seen before. Where did you come from, little bird, and why are you here? And as she leans over Lilith, she is a giant, and she says, it's been a very long time since somebody has challenged me. Perhaps there is another way to get what I want inside that little head, bird. And as she yells at her guards, notify my constable. I need to speak to her at once. Bring me Vampirella. End of chapter 2. All right, man, dude, I ain't gonna lie, man. I'm digging this series like hell, dude. Issue 1 and 2 have been fire, dude. I absolutely dug issue 2 right there, how it ended. It brought all the exposition, what we needed, what was going on. We got this main Queen Tenebrese that was, brought to us by the chaos gods, but she had mind of her own to the taking over this planet, where she's so strong that she even took over this Vampirella on this planet 9285. And now Lilith is there, is trying to see what the hell's going on, and now she is trapped with the Tenebrese. What's going to happen here in the next issue when Vampirella now comes back to Lilith, when in the beginning, she didn't rip out her throat because she thought maybe she reminds her of her daughter, and she is Vampirilla's daughter in another universe. So man, I can't wait for chapter 3, which is probably coming out when this video's out. So again, I'm going to give you guys about another month to check out chapter 3, and then I'm going to be doing my review on it. So make sure, if you like these reviews, subscribe to the channel and hit that bleeping bell, and it'll let you know when I go live and when I drop a new video, because I got a few videos coming out every week and lives every month. So make sure you subscribe to Triple B Hardcore Comics live in the Haunted Basement Studio. Thank you all for joining me, and you guys remember one thing: you keep it hardcore comics. Laters. All right, man, that video got removed, so I had to edit some stuff out of it, and that's why you got it again. So I'm sorry, YouTube. I love YouTube, but there you go. I took out the parts that they didn't want me to have in there. And so if you've already watched this video, I'm sorry, but I'm so glad that you watched it again, and make sure you hit the like button. Go Vampirella Dark Reflections. Issue number 3 is going to be coming out pretty soon. And Vampyverse, the conclusion, will be out tomorrow. Laters.